Hi everyone, thank you very much for coming. My name is Adam. I am one of the careers consultants as part of the careers team. And in this session, what I'm going to be doing is talking about, I guess, the whole concept of a careers fair, why you would go to one. Hopefully, the reason you've come to this is that you're aware that this week we have the STEM fair. That is tomorrow, Tuesday, at the time of the recording, at the time of the workshop. And then the final careers fair for this semester will be, well, we have the one at the end of October, that's the Autumn Careers Fair, and then one at the start of November, which is the Law Fair. So all of what I'm going to say is applicable to every careers fair that we have this semester, and I'd encourage you, obviously, to go. And you're all here, so you're all thinking about that, which is good. So, first thing I'm going to get you to do before we get started properly, this is a QR code that you can use to register your attendance at this event. What that'll allow me to do is, like I said at the top, send you the slides for this session and the recorded version. Now, I'll give you a second to scan that QR code. If it doesn't work for whatever reason, or maybe you've joined on your phone and you're not able to scan the QR code, or whatever it might be, I will put our contact details up on the screen at the end of this session, and you'll be able to email us and ask for the slides and the recording that way. This just means that this is a quicker way of doing it, and it allows me to see who's come to the event, which is obviously useful for me. I'll show this up at the end as well. So if you don't have time now, you fumbled it, whatever, that's absolutely fine. You'll have another opportunity to do this. So then, first question, why go to the fair? I mean, there's all sorts of reasons, and obviously I can think of a few off the top of my head. Hopefully, the fact that you guys are all here means that you aren't necessarily that unsure about going to the fair, but broadly speaking, here are the things that I would suggest a careers fair is useful for. Some of these are going to be obvious. The first one may be a bit less obvious. You might be someone that doesn't really know what they want to do. And if so, absolutely no judgment. Most people, I would suggest, are in that position. I still think it's really worth going to a careers fair because it can actually give you a sense of what employers are out there, what opportunities are out there, the sheer scale of stuff, and how you can potentially transfer into a different kind of employer, whatever your degree is in. It is always worth having that conversation, even if you are that person that doesn't really know what you want to do. And if you are someone that knows what they want to do, then it's definitely worthwhile, right? You can talk to the specific employers in the sectors, in the roles that you're interested in. And I guess that leads on to my next point. It's super easy. These careers fairs are going from 10 till 4 on the days that they're held. You don't need an appointment. You can come at any point during the day when it's convenient for you and just talk to people. I know that part might sound a bit daunting, but actually it is really easy just to talk to these employers because that's what they're here for. They are looking for students from the University of Manchester. That is why they are there. We are the second most targeted university by the top employers in the country. This is how they get to our students. A lot of them are looking to directly recruit students. Quite often, they have roles that they want to fill from a careers fair, or they're using it as a way to spot talent. They call it talent pipelining, where they might try, and this is what they are coming to a careers fair for, to attract students to work for those companies. That's what they're there for. So actually, while it's very easy, obviously, for me to say, yeah, talk to employers, that is also why they are there. So you're never going to get a better chance. The next one's probably, I guess, my biggest point. A careers fair is a really useful opportunity to gather loads of information. I'll speak to this in a bit about what kind of things that you should ask, but there are all sorts of things that you can ask, all sorts of pieces of information that can go into making your application stronger, making your interviews stronger. You can use this as an opportunity, even if you're not necessarily applying right now or even this year, to make your application super strong by asking things like, when do you recruit? How do you recruit? What resources do you use? what do you look for, all these types of things. It's a way to do really valuable research. And then the last one, bit frivolous, but loot. There are going to be all sorts of employers here with all sorts of freebies. So even if you're not necessarily that interested in particular employers, go along, see what they've got, fill your boots. And then if you have a really good conversation out of that, from our perspective and from yours, all the better. But, it's a nice little perk of the event. Okay. Now, the STEM Fair tomorrow and Wednesday, that is happening in Nancy Rothwell. The Autumn Fair, that is happening in Whitworth Hall. This is what Whitworth Hall will look like, but Nancy Rothwell will look reasonably similar. And it'll be like this. There'll be booths. It'll be quite busy. These events can be really busy and there's quite a big buzz around the event. But what you will be able to do is then circulate and speak to obviously all the employees that you're interested in, but we'll also be there. If you're at all unsure, come and have a chat to us and we can maybe point you in the right direction, tell you where your specific employer that you're interested in is going to be. So this is, I guess, the plan for the day. Now, I would actually suggest that the way to be successful, in inverted commas, at a careers fair is by doing some work before the actual event. There's some prep and homework that I'm going to suggest that you guys should do to make the most of this. First of all, make a shortlist. Understand which employers you are interested in, because you're not going to have time or even the inclination to speak to every single one. So look on the event on Career Connect and make a list of the employers you're interested in. Do a little bit of research about them. What sort of roles do they have available? The more research to do, the more prepared you're going to be, the more you can make of this event, which goes to sort of allowing enough time as well. If you've got a list of 10 employers you want to hit, then you're probably going to need quite a bit of time. Because if you think about it, if a conversation is, let's say, no more than 5 minutes, depending on how in depth it's going to be, if you want to hit 10 employers, that's the best part of an hour, right? So think about this quite logically and sort of plan it, which again goes to the preparation you want to do. Think about the questions that you want to ask. Now, I'm going to speak to this in more detail in a sec, but thinking about either the questions you want to ask or what it is you want to know, what you think would help, whether it's help you decide, do you want to work for them? Are there specific things you want to know about that organization before you decide you want to apply? Or is it more around that kind of recruitment piece? Are there things you need to know or things you're not sure about that will make your application stronger if you knew the answer? Things that I've already suggested, like when to apply, how to apply, what they're looking for in a potential candidate. That can then help you with things like updating your CV, updating your LinkedIn profile. Might be a bit short notice now, but definitely for things like the Autumn Fair. But even if you're going to the STEM Fair on Wednesday, updating your CV, coming armed with a copy of it, really good idea. Having your LinkedIn profile in a state where you're happy to connect with people, really good idea. So a little bit more homework. And think you don't need like a full rehearsed pitch, but think about what you would say to an employer when they ask, well, what's your background? Tell me a bit about you. Think about the key skills that you want to talk about. Yeah, you'd start with what you're studying, of course. You might talk about your experience, but then how is that making you a strong candidate? Why does that make you interested in them? All of that can be part of a really useful conversation. You can then transition that into asking some of your questions like, I've got X number of skills, but do I need any specific ones? Are there things that you would suggest I really develop before I apply? Now, there's an extra thing that I would suggest that you do if you are an international student. One of the things that international students particularly want to know, for obvious reasons, is does an employer sponsor? Now, for some of the employers, they've put that on the actual event section that I'll show you in a second. But what I would suggest you do when you are making that target list of companies, go onto the international students pathway and then go into, I think it's section 5, which is the eCareers grad tool. This is the Target the Right UK Employer Sponsor tool. What this allows you to do is look at individual companies and see whether they can sponsor, whether they are on the register of sponsors list, but also how many people they have sponsored year on year. And we actually have the most recent data from last year as well in that tool. So this will help you figure out that target list. Look at the companies you're interested in, check if they're on that list, and if they're not, then maybe it's not really worth a conversation because they won't be able to sponsor. If you're thinking about just working with them for a couple of years on a graduate visa, maybe it's different and that's fine. But if you are really focused on employers that can sponsor, doing this bit of research first is really valuable. And like I say, you can access this in the pathway section of Career Connect. It's the International Student Pathway. Now you can see which companies are going to be there through the event page on Career Connect. And this is how I would suggest you do your research. So look at the companies that are going to be there. You can see which days they're going to be there, so you know which days to target, and do that little bit of research on them. It will really help. It will give you that structure to the day, and there's a certain sort of sense of focus that you can have that makes the day just go by really productively. You get a really good feeling once you've done all that. Honestly, I know it's a bit cheesy to say, but it really is true. Okay. Now on the actual day, so that's all the prep that I'm going to suggest you do. That's your homework, right? On the actual day, there are a few things that I would sort of highlight. Before you even get there, first of all, check for updates. Now you can do this on our website. You can do this on our Instagram. We will highlight any particular changes. Let's say there are certain exhibitors that haven't shown up. It doesn't happen often, but it does happen. You can get a sense of, are there any changes I need to be aware of? Gather everything that you want to put together. So things like a notepad to take notes, that might be helpful. If you want to do it all on your phone, that's absolutely fine. But whatever it is that you think is going to help you make the most of the day, make sure you bring it and get yourself in the right frame of mind. A lot of that is going to be the preparation you've done previously. Do you know what you are asking? Do you know what you need to know? Do you have your list of employers that you're interested in? Do you know when you're going to get there? All these things that can really help. And it's important, dress appropriately. That does not mean that you have to come in a full suit. We're not expecting that by any means. But think about it. This is your chance to meet a potential employer, a potential colleague. So you want to go sort of smart casual, I'd suggest. So, that's going to mean some different things to different people. But I'd just say it's always better to err on the side of maybe more formal than you would otherwise think. So jeans, absolutely fine, but make sure they're smart jeans, decent top. I can't really give you a full guide on that, but just dress appropriately. Don't come in like flip-flops, hoodies, all that sort of stuff. Okay? And then think about what you're going to ask. Now, I've suggested a few things already. Here are some other things that could potentially help. Things like, how do I stand out? You could phrase that slightly differently. What do you look for when you recruit? What should I be trying to develop before I apply? Is there anything that you need that I might not have? Or what do you see candidates doing that's a bit of a mistake? These things can be really helpful. These are the things that are going to make your applications, your interviews, that much stronger. You could also ask about what's on offer, what jobs do they have? I know that sounds like a simple thing, but let's say you're going to an engineering firm, but you're not an engineer. There are still going to be potential roles available to you. I mean, every organization has HR as an example. So even the organizations that you're not directly thinking about might still be worth a conversation if you do that work in the conversations. Think, what actually do you have? What roles are available? Am I qualified? Do I need a specific, what would the word be? Do I need a specific degree? This is what I'm currently studying. Is that appropriate for the kind of roles you have? Can I just make sure? You could even ask about the people that are there. What's their experience? What's their story? How did they get to where they are? and see if you could maybe draw any parallels. Now, this isn't an exhausted list by any means. You might have other things that you really want to ask that you think would be really helpful. It might be that maybe you want to think about working abroad. Do they have any positions abroad? Do they have any offices abroad? Something like that. Basically, no question is a bad question, but what I would suggest, and I keep hammering on this, right? But go in armed with some questions that you want to ask. Think about what is actually going to help you. Okay. And then on the day, I'd suggest, I've already kind of mentioned it with the notepad, but make notes, record the key points from any conversations that you have, these things that are going to help you. Listen to other students, listen to their experience. Maybe there's some really good freebies at X stall, or maybe they found out something that they really didn't know about. Talk to each other, right? Talk to people, find out their experience, not just the employers. That can be helpful. We are going to be there, like I've already said. So if you're not sure, ask the careers service. We can help you find the right employers. We can maybe give you an idea of what it is you might want to ask, all that sort of stuff. And then follow up on LinkedIn. That's quite powerful. The people that you meet, if you've done this correctly, so if you've got that sort of target list of employers you're interested in and you've gone to the right ones, that can be really helpful to follow up on LinkedIn. Connect with them, keep the conversation going. Thank you very much for your time, all that sort of stuff. Gives a good impression. And it's a little bit of low-key networking, which can be really, really valuable. So that's basically it. Homework is next. Basically, do all the stuff I've talked about. So plan ahead. The biggest thing in planning ahead, know who you want to talk to, why you want to talk to them, and what it is you want to know from them. What will help you? And then you've got the other stuff that I talked about, things like checking for updates on the day, making good notes, following up on LinkedIn. That can be really useful. All of this will come together and get you to a position where you can make better applications, which is what we want, right? Applications are probably the harder part of the process. The research, the information that you get from a careers fair can make your application that much stronger, which is why it is so valuable. And, on a basic level, enjoy the day. There's a real buzz about the university careers fairs. They're really busy events. Employers are really enthusiastic. They want to meet students. If you approach it in the right way, it can be a really fun day and a really fun event. Okay? Now, just the last thing I want to touch on. If, for whatever reason, you go to a careers fair and you're getting a bad vibe, or you're getting the sense that maybe the roles out there for you aren't quite what you expected. If you're an international student, maybe the employers aren't that open to sponsoring, or you're just getting the sense that it's going to be very difficult. The thing I would think about there is a plan B. Now, we have a number of resources that could be really helpful. The one I put on the screen is a resource called Going Global. Particularly for international students, this can be really worthwhile. It gives guides on individual countries, what the labour market is like in those countries, how you can approach going to work and live in those countries. But even if you're, let's say, a home student and you're interested in working abroad, this can be a really valuable jumping off point. The only thing I want to highlight here, just because for whatever reason something doesn't work out, whether that is sponsorship in the UK or whether it is I really wanted to work for X company, but they're just not recruiting at the moment, or whatever it might be, a contingency plan, backup plan, always a good idea. This might be part of the preparation you do before you go to the event, but just think about it, okay? Not suggesting don't go for your, I guess, top pick or the grad scheme that you really want or whatever it is, but think about what you're going to do if that doesn't work out. What is your backup plan? Okay. The other thing I can suggest for that, allied to that, this is the Prospects website. Again, they have country guides and guides to working abroad in general. So for anyone that wants to work abroad, or for anyone who might just want to work in a different country after they graduate, this again can be really worthwhile. It's a jumping off point that might point you in the right sort of direction. It'll talk to you about, again, what the working situation in different countries is like, but also the kind of organizations that you might want to target for these sorts of roles. Which, everybody, brings me to the end. So I'm just going to stop recording there. Thank you very much for listening.